AskReddit by MR Midnight Diamond. What is your best joke? This woman goes into a funeral home to make arrangements for her husband's funeral. She tells the director that she wants her husband to be buried in a dark blue suit. He asks, wouldn't it just be easier to bury him in the black suit that he's wearing? But she insists that it must be a blue suit and gives him a blank check to buy one. When she comes back for the funeral, she sees her husband in the coffin and he is wearing a beautiful blue suit. She tells the funeral director how much she loves the suit and asks how much it cost. He says, actually, it didn't cost anything. The funniest thing happened. As soon as you left, another corpse was brought in, this one wearing a blue suit. I noticed that they were about the same size, and asked the other widow if she would mind if her husband were buried in a black suit. She said that was fine with her. So, I switched the heads. Out of all the jokes on this thread that I've read, this one made me laugh out loud. I bought shoes from a drug dealer. I don't know what he laced them with, but I've been tripping all day. It takes a while to kick in. I took the shell off my racing snail to make it go faster. If anything, it just made it more sluggish. I had a racing snail. Well, it raced cars actually. Drove a little car with an S on it, for snail, and it was wicked fast. People would see it take off and go, wow, look at that S car go. Someone found a hole in the nudist colony fence. Police are looking into it. Someone stole all the toilets from the police station. The police have nothing to go on. A favorite of mine that I saw somewhere is: a man walks into a bar and says to the bartender, I've got a little man that plays a piano in my pocket. The bartender doubts the man, but the man insists, if I can show you him, will you give me a free drink? To which the bartender obliges. The man takes him out, who's only about 10 inches in height, and he plays a little tune. When the amazed bartender is handing the man his free drink, the man asks, if I show you how to I did it, will you give me another free drink? The curious bartender obliges, and the man says, there's a little wizard in my other pocket that grants wishes. The bartender hands him another free drink, and the man makes his third and final request: if I'll let you make a wish, will you give me another free drink? The bartender obliges and says, I wish for $1,000. But after he says it, 1,000 ducks fill the room. Angered, the bartender exclaims, I didn't ask for 1,000 ducks. To which the man replies, well, do you think I wanted a 10-inch pianist? A man goes into the doctor and says, I think I have hearing problems. Doctor, can you describe the symptoms? Man, sure. Homer's fat and Marge has blue hair. A man tells his friend that he thinks his wife's hearing is going bad. His friend told him to ask a question from far, get closer and ask again if she does not respond. So he goes home and try that. He asks what's for dinner, no response. So he got closer and asked again. He did this 2 more times, and finally he heard from his wife for the 4th time, chicken. 2 fish in a tank, one turns to the other and says, do you know how to drive this thing? 2 soldiers in a tank, one turns to the other and says unintelligible underwater noises. My grandfather has the heart of a lion and a lifetime ban from the zoo. Stephen King once said something like, people think I'm this scary guy, but really I have the heart of a small boy. I keep it in a jar on my desk. Deleted. Why don't they just trade lunches? Yesterday I couldn't figure out whether someone was waving at me or the person behind me. In other news, I lost my lifeguard job. Not my original joke. Why did the lifeguard let the hippie drown? He was too far out. I used to date a pair of twins. People often ask if I could tell them apart. It was easy. Amy always wore her hair in a ponytail. And Carl had a cock. Do you know why divers fall backwards off the boat when they are diving? Because if they fell forward, they'd still be in the boat. You know when geese fly in the V formation, there's always one side longer than the other? You know why that is? Because there's more geese at that side. 3 mathematicians walk into a bar. The barman says, "Do you all want a beer?" First one says, "I don't know." Second one says, "I don't know." Third one says, "Yes." I like that. That's a lot more clever than I realized at first. I love telling jokes about the Titanic. They always go down well. A great way to break the ice. But not too often though, as I have found my friends get that sinking feeling when I am about to tell one. A lady walks into a bar and orders a double entendre, so the bartender gives it to her. What's the difference between an owl, a piano, and a fish? You can tune a piano, but you can't tune a fish. What about the owl? What's a foot long and slippery? A slipper. What's brown and sticky? A stick. Bear walks into a bar and says, "Can I have a Coke?" Bartender says, "What's with the big paws?" Bear says, "I don't know. I was born with them." When telling this one in a bar, I make the pause super long. People gotta wait for that punchline. Why do Norwegian warships have a barcode on the side of them? So that they can Scandinavian. Where did Napoleon keep his armies? In his sleeves. What's the difference between Dubai and Abu Dhabi? People from Dubai don't like the Flintstones, but people from Abu Dhabi do. Lol, sharing this with my Abu Dhabi peeps. A Roman walks into a bar, holds up 2 fingers and says, "5 beers, please." Deleted. As Mickey and Minnie were before the judge in divorce court, the judge looked at Mickey and said, "Listen here, Mr. Mouse, I cannot grant you a divorce from Minnie." "But why not, Your Honor?" a stunned Mickey asked. "I have reviewed all the information you submitted to the court and I can find no evidence to support the allegation that she's crazy," explained the judge. "Your Honor," Mickey exclaimed, "I didn't say she was crazy, I said she was fucking goofy." A few years ago in Disneyland, my kid was taking picture with Goofy and I asked if they had heard the one about Minnie and Mickey in divorce court. Goofy immediately started shaking his head and waving his hands, trying to stay in character while also trying to stop me from telling the joke. I could hear laughter from within the costume. I'm guessing they probably heard it on a daily basis. A photon walks into a hotel and the concierge comes up and says, "May I take your bags, sir?" The photon replies, "No, I'm traveling light." 2 atoms were walking down the road and the one atom suddenly stopped, patted his pockets and exclaimed, "Hold on, I think I've lost an electron." The second atom says, "Are you sure?" To which the first atom replies, "I'm positive." A snake walks into a bar and the bartender asks how. A blind man walks into a bar. And a chair. And a table. A termite walks into a bar and asks, "Is the bartender here?" This is a good one. I love bar jokes. What has 2 butts and kills people? An assassin. The opposite of assassin is dick out. Our biology teacher brought a banana into sex ed class to demonstrate how to put on a condom. Apparently he couldn't get an erection on an empty stomach. What do you call a dog with no legs? You don't call it, you go get it. It doesn't matter, it won't come anyway. How do you tell the gender of an ant? Throw it in water. If it sinks, it's girl ant, but if it floats. Ants are amazing creatures. Did you know it's impossible for viruses to spread throughout an ant colony? Because of all the little antibodies. Just read this one here recently and haven't had the right chance to deploy it in IRL yet, so I'm still a bit bemused by it. How many gorillas does it take to change a light bulb? Just one, but it takes a shitload of light bulbs. How many mice does it take to screw in a light bulb? 2, but the hard part is getting them in there.